I found Bitcoin in 2017, which was actually like the ICO era. I love Bitcoin, and we were joking, I should have left when Jamie Dimon said he would fire anyone who held Bitcoin at the company then. But, I was young and poor and starting my career in New York City. So I stuck around, met a lot of amazing people that I worked with who, we continue to interact with at Galaxy and institutional trading.
Hello and welcome to Markets Daily, hosted by me, Jen Sanasi. On this show, we navigate the crypto markets, providing insights against the broader financial landscape. So whether you're actively investing or just interested in the volatility that is the crypto markets, this show is your compass to understanding what's happened, where we are, and where we are going. On today's show, we are joined by Galaxy Head of Americas Sales, Kelly Greer. Kelly, welcome.
Hi, Jen. Great to be here.
Great to have you here. A really interesting, turbulent, and I would say exciting time for the crypto markets right now. If we just look at what's going on this week, what are you watching?
There's lots going on in crypto. We were just chatting about how we've been in space for several years now, and finally there's tons of momentum behind the industry. We've survived tons of tailwinds. Even this year alone, there was a lot of forced sell pressure, specifically in Bitcoin. And, post-election, there's a lot of renewed interest across all these metrics you can look at and we can talk about. And a lot of just all around optimism around what the next presidential administration will bring for crypto in the United States.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking before the show about, how long I've been at CoinDesk, how long you've been at Galaxy. It's a similar time frame. But before you were at Galaxy, you were actually at JP Morgan. And I'm always curious about people who leave TradFi to enter this crazy world that we operate in. And so what was your motivation? Were you into crypto when you were at JP Morgan?
Yeah, so I found Bitcoin in 2017, which was actually like the ICO era. But I love Bitcoin, and we were joking, I should have left when Jamie Dimon said he would fire anyone who held Bitcoin at the company then. But, I was young and poor and starting my career in New York City. So I stuck around, met a lot of amazing people that I worked with who, we continue to interact with at Galaxy and institutional trading. So
that's how you got here. And I have a feeling that you won't be going back to TradFi anytime soon.
No plans anytime soon.
All right. Well, let's talk about the convergence of TradFi, and I won't even say crypto. I'll say Bitcoin and the institutional interest that has really picked up momentum this year after the approval of the ETFs. There was a lot of excitement back in, March, April, May. Things kind of died down over the summer, as one would expect. And now after the election, they're picking up again. Talk to me about the conversations you were having with institutional clients.
Yeah, it's funny. I've talked to hundreds and hundreds of portfolio managers, fund managers, individuals about Bitcoin and digital assets over the years. And those who were interested and, were intent about allocating stuck around. And, we've helped them facilitate allocations across their portfolios here. And it's funny, post-election, all of these folks who we've talked to who kind of went dormant for a while are awake again. So we're definitely seeing renewed interest across all types of participants, whether it's very traditional institutions, fund managers, or, high net worth individuals. So it's great to see. You can see it in volumes. The 7-day average exchange volume chart is amazing. It's like straight line up post November 5th. So it's great to see the activity back in the market. And I think there's a lot more to come as we get more details out of the Trump administration.
You said that some institutional clients are awake again. What has awakened them? Is it the election? Is it the fact that the price hit new all-time highs recently? Is it the fact that there might be some more regulatory clarity in the United States? What's the main driving factor there?
All of the above. Bitcoin is impossible to ignore now. It's one of the best performing assets year to date. It's making new highs almost every day for the past couple of weeks. There's tons of research now about how adding even just a small percent of Bitcoin to your portfolio is beneficial from a Sharpe ratio for your fund exposure. And now, I think one of the biggest sort of hurdles for investors to climb was regulation. And we now have a clear path towards regulatory clarity in the United States.
Talk to me a little bit about portfolio allocation when it comes to Bitcoin. When your clients come to you and ask, how should I be looking at Bitcoin against the rest of my portfolio? What do you tell them?
Well, it's funny. 2021 Bitcoin was a lot more volatile than a lot of other assets, and that's not really the case anymore. Volatility has come down, and other asset markets volatility has picked up. So it's really something that I think you need to have at least some exposure to, and there's lots of smart ways you can do it now in liquid options markets and through multiple ways you can buy and custody Bitcoin with institutional partners.
Now, Bitcoin is not the only crypto that has been stealing the headlines lately. Meme coins have really taken over the spotlight in this cycle. And I want to talk about one more specifically. I don't even know I guess it is a meme coin, but maybe one of the more established ones, Doge. You've been tweeting about, of course, Elon is now at the helm of the Department of Government Efficiency, which sent Doge kind of flying recently. How are you looking at cryptos outside of Bitcoin, especially Doge, since you've been tweeting about it?
Listen, I think I wrote this, that Doge has been around for a very long time. It's a very honest meme coin, if you will. It was a fair launch. It's a proof of work. And look, it's something that has a Lindy effect to it. So there's lots of long-term holders of Doge, and I call it the lazy person's meme coin. If you don't want to spend your weekend, on these apps like Deck Screener and things like that for all these other very, very small cap memes, I think it's an enduring asset to get your meme exposure to.
Mm-hmm. Are your institutional clients asking about any assets other than Bitcoin?
Definitely. I think Bitcoin is the starting point for almost any institutional investor in the space. There's now, some lower market cap layer ones or applications that are revenue generating. At the end of the day, I think some of those may struggle with their value accrual or, unlock schedules in the future. Bitcoin's, its path and its use case is now enough for it to be discussed by nation states, and it has a lot of security around things like inflation and global adoption. So it's definitely the starting point, but we do see interest in other applications for those willing to take a little bit more risk.
Kelly, you said some layer ones may struggle in the future. Talk to me a little bit about what some, I don't want to say red flags, but what makes you pause and take no, or makes you proceed with caution when you're looking at layer ones?
I look for enduring use cases, and I think other layer ones have really leaned into the speculative frenzy that we're seeing right now in things like meme coin trading, and that's fine. It's good for right now, but I'm looking for things that will continue to be used and adopted over multiple decades. And, Bitcoin has been adopted for over a decade now. And so I think there's just a lot more for other chains to prove themselves in terms of their lasting usability and staying power in the industry.
As we move into 2025, is there one narrative that you predict, if you were going to look into your crystal ball, is going to really drive us through the next year?
I think the regulatory tailwinds will drive a lot more institutional participation. I think, we don't have a lot of clarity around what the administration will bring. We have some ideas, but, hopefully more traditional counterparty level participation will bring in things like financing versus Bitcoin that will level out the playing field for institutions to hold and trade with Bitcoin the same way they can with all of these other types of traditional assets that they trade with at things like a traditional pawnbroker.
Are there any challenges or fears that the institutional clients you're talking to still have when it comes to dabbling into Bitcoin?
You know what? There's always a little fear about getting used to dealing with a bearer asset, right? It's different than, an equity or a bond that you hold at a custodian. But at the end of the day, there's lots of now tried and battle tested, licensed, regulated, qualified custodians for crypto. And I think that that depth and breadth of support will continue to expand in a really meaningful way in 2025.
And lastly, regulation is really the theme as we head into next year. I know you shared some research by your colleague, Alex Thorne, who's been on this show before. What are you watching from the regulatory landscape or the regulatory shifts to come in the United States? What are some of the catalysts that would prove beneficial for this industry as we move forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone is on the same page in terms of watching out for who will be the new chairman or chairwoman, I should say, of the SEC. We expect that appointment or announcement to come after the Treasury Secretary is elected, who will presumably want to take part in choosing the next SEC chair. If you look back in prior years, other chairs were nominated or appointed before the presidential inauguration. So I think we're expecting something in the coming months here before Jan 20th. And we're eyeing all of the prospective candidates and trying to dissect what they could mean for the industry. But no doubt that almost all of the candidates in play should be or will be beneficial and much more friendly to the industry than Chair Gensler.
Who are some of the candidates that you are watching? Just for our audience, like who are some of the people who are in the running?
We're watching Robert Gallagher, who is currently with Robinhood, is a proponent of crypto. So a nomination from him would be great. But outside of the SEC, I think there's lots of other folks surrounding President Trump who understand and are advocates for the crypto industry.
Kelly, thank you so much for joining Markets Daily. It was a pleasure having you on.
Thank you.
And thank you to our audience for watching. If you enjoyed this podcast or any of the other podcasts on CoinDesk.com, subscribe to the CoinDesk Podcast Network. That is available on all podcast platforms. Subscribe to our YouTube. Give us a thumbs up. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for listening. We will see you tomorrow.